there's a moment in the film where my character cuts off the head of his enslaver. And I was surprised at a room full of 1,200 people, mostly white people, watching that movie. There were cheers and shouts and applause, and the time was really, really ready for it. But it wasn't that Hollywood wasn't ready, it was that actually America was ready, and they were ready to sideline the film in quite a skillful way, looking back on it. I think it helped me to really realize what it is that we're up against.
In my opinion, Hollywood wasn't ready for that story. The story of a black man killing white people is just a story that Hollywood wasn't ready for. And I felt, whether wrong or right, there was a smear campaign
Mm,
um, against Nate, and I thought, um, this isn't fair. This isn't fair. But in real time, it's happening, and it
mm,
felt almost very. It felt very similar to very many stories when we try to share our history and we
hmm.
try to relive the history so that people can really understand and be educated. Tell me how that experience was for you. You're in this beautiful project. And I don't, like I said, it didn't deserve the way that it was treated and dismissed. How did you feel?
I feel still to this day quite a few things. Look, it is what it is. I actually think, funnily enough, I felt the same way that Hollywood wasn't ready for a story like this. But then when we went to Sundance and we won Sundance, I remember I was sat next to Coleman Domingo, and there's a moment in the film where my character cuts off the head of his enslaver. And I was surprised at a room full of 1,200 people, mostly white people, watching that movie. There were cheers and shouts and applause, and the time was really, really ready for it. But it wasn't that Hollywood wasn't ready, it was that actually America was ready, and they were ready to sideline the film in quite a skillful way, looking back on it. I think it helped me to really realize what it is that we're up against. It made me realize that we are much stronger together, that if we're going to be
Hmm.
brave and tell stories like this, we need to gird ourselves and be in it together and really make sure that we are part of a cohesive whole. Because, yeah, it still happens to this day. There are just certain stories, certain things that America doesn't want out there. It doesn't want to air its dirty laundry in certain aspects. And I think it's the job of an artist, of a storyteller, to say, do you know what? I don't care. I'm going to push. I'm
Hmm.
going to keep on telling these stories. I'm going to be brave, even if it comes at a personal cost. Um, and say this is something that needs to exist in the world. It's something that needs to get out there. I think for us, the Birth of a Nation, it wasn't a film about enslavement. It was a film about revolution,
Absolutely.
and a, a film about inspiring people to be revolutionaries and to break outside of the bonds that might be holding them, whatever they may be. And so I think that's a message and a story that I still want to get out there, and I'm sure so many other artists do as well. So even though The Birth of a Nation maybe didn't get its due yet, my hope is that people still tune in, put it up on Apple or whatever, and watch the movie, because it's a really powerful film and it holds up to this day.
It holds up to this day. So yes, definitely still watch it. Still, I just think of so many people who say that was one of the best films they've ever seen in the sense of the storytelling. To your point,
Mm,
so congratulations of being a part of something that, to me, um, historical in the sense of it will be shown in classrooms, if not still shown in classrooms. It will
hmm.
be part of it will be part of the college conversation that you have if you're taking this class on revolutions. And I feel like there's all these ways in which you can look at that film to learn from it. So good for
Mm.
you.
Thank you.
I just I hated that. I hate that for us. I feel like in real time today, I just had this conversation on CNN. The erasing or rewriting of our history is happening in real time, and
Mm,
no one is paying attention. And those who are paying attention, they're working, but we need more people to pay attention. Like, you can't say this isn't a racist country. You can't say that you don't know what the Civil War was about. You can't
mm,
do that in
mm,
real time. It's so disrespectful to our ancestors and to the folks who helped build this country, who still are trying to get whatever they believe is equity. I wonder if politics is something you stray away from as an actor, or do you discuss it in a way that you feel comfortable, or are you afraid to say certain things? So
Oh,
and you
Gosh,
might not get a role.
no, no, no. I'm not afraid to talk about it. I think being an actor, being a storyteller is a political act. You have to be aware of the world around you. You have to be aware of the things you're up against. So no, look. I haven't been asked a huge amount about it in the past, but no, I'm not afraid to really talk about anything. I think it's important to understand what we're up against as a people and as a nation, because even though I wasn't born here in the US, I do feel like I've I've sort of become very much a part of this system, and I stand to really be a part of changing it. I really feel like I really want to be a part of changing it for the better, and I stand to gain from that. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's definitely not something I'm afraid of just discussing.
good.
Happy to
I
talk about with you.
Good. No, I just say it because I feel like everyone at work is afraid.
Yeah,
They're afraid not to if they say the wrong thing because you see you've seen what happened. There's like
100%.
with Claudine Gay, you're like, wait, what? She didn't answer something correctly, and now all of a sudden she's not qualified to be the president of Harvard. And I can talk about that at nauseum. I'm not going to do that right now.
It was exactly the example that was in my mind when I said that it still happens to this day. Um, what happened to the birth of a nation and Janae Parker in that movie? It happens, and it happened to Claudine Gay. It's so disappointing to witness, but it's also honestly the system around it doesn't change. It's got a very very well played out sort of rule book that it follows, and that thing of discrediting and sort of diminishing her whole lifetime of work was honestly incredible to watch happen, like you say, in real time. And it's a shame. I find it a real shame.
It's painful. It made me ask the question on the podcast: is Black excellence enough? We wear it as armor for ourselves, I think more so, but we can see, does that really protect us from the world if they decided that they didn't want to, or from those who have the power if they decided we don't deserve?
Mm,
I don't feel that it does. Doesn't mean we don't stop the work. We still show up and give excellence, but we can't rest on that.
right.
Because two things can be true. Yes, I can be excellent, but I also can be in a system where I don't have enough power or enough cachet, or perhaps I'm not seen in a way in which it provides me with protection, because I
Mm.
just don't feel like there is. I watch you move in this world, an elegant, articulate Black man. Is there anything that you fear in this world that we live in?
Oh gosh, yeah, I'm sure there is. I'm not sure I could pick up what it would be right in this moment, but it's
Do you feel like meaning do you feel like you can walk down the street safely and not have a problem? Are you aware of your
yeah,
blackness
I am.
and how it's perceived?
I am, and very much so in maybe in different parts of the country. You know what's funny though? Growing up in London, I made a very definite decision, and it was like an internal mantra almost. I was stopped once by the police. Stopped a few times, obviously, when I was a kid. But what at one point, I sort of said to myself, and I know this isn't true of everyone, because believe me, when the police do not have guns in the country that you grow up in, it makes a big difference.
Mhm.
But when they do, and they can make a decision in that moment, I realize that that's very clear and present danger. But when I was maybe 17, 16, I just decided that I wasn't going to be stopped by the police anymore. I was like, I'm not taking part in this game anymore. And the next time I was
What
stopped, he said he wanted to search me or something, and I said, no, no, I'm not doing that. You can if you suspect me of something, you can arrest me and take me to the station, but I'm not doing that in the street. And then he just let me go. And that maybe that attitude isn't right for everyone. I believe me, I understand that, because I've been stopped many a time. When we were filming The Birth of a Nation, I was stopped 3 times inside of 2 weeks. My first 2 weeks in Savannah, Georgia, and that same attitude that I have um, could get me in trouble for sure. It just so happened when I was in Georgia, the moment I started speaking in the accent that I have, I was very, very, very aware that I wasn't the sort of Black person that they were looking to stop, which is heartbreaking to me.
Oh my
Um,
god, wow.
it was almost as if they said, you're not what we're looking for," even though they made it hard for me. I remember one time we were coming back from a night shoot, and it's like 2 in the morning. They followed me for miles. It felt like terrorism. It genuinely did. And then, the flashlights and the hands on the guns and taking my license without telling me anything. That's terrorizing. It really is. But my mindset in that moment is I'm protected, and I'm not trying to be a part of whatever game they're trying to play. So look, again, I realize that's not necessarily, that's definitely not advice. Do not take that as
Wait, no,
sacred, but
but I you
it's just
just
the way
said
that I've
something.
grown.
you've but your experience, by the way, is going to be different, because your experience growing up in the UK with the police is different. So, but what you
Mhm.
just said to me is very, very insightful. um they followed you for miles and it was terrorizing. That's terrorism. That's traumatizing.
Mhm.
Can you imagine how much trauma um black men, black women, but black men more specifically deal with day in and day out, and we just consider it, and it's just dismissed as a part of what happens. But that's actually traumatizing. I never even considered it that way.
No, it is. It is. And I think, look, for me, it's it's a shame because I do feel I felt separate in that moment as well. I felt separate from my people, in as much as just because I speak a certain way, it separated me in their minds. And I know that not everyone, well, very, very few people in America have that option. So it was illuminating to me as well, in a way that, wow, we've got work to do, because the work that I want to do and the work that we've been speaking of is work that really helps us to see who we are, and to really
Mhm.
be empowered by who we are. And then, I think the stuff that we can't control outside of ourselves is, as may be. I don't try to think about it too much.